Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. We're going back in the Wayback Machine this time around. We're going to do one that Mark had asked for. He's got one that's similar. This is a Pflueger Capital. The reel was around in the 50s and the 60s. This one's got a broken AntiReverse, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. The question was kind of how to take the side plate off. I think he figured that out. But we're going to go ahead and we'll see what's going on with this reel, see if we can repair this AntiReverse. Give everybody an idea of what's going on here. So this is a Pflueger Capital. Like I mentioned, 60s, 70s-ish. Had the German silvered side plate on it. It was a nice solid reel. Has everything was really going on inside here with this. I think that's black rubber. I could be wrong. Could be plastic casing. And this one turns okay. So everything but the AntiReverse working. So we'll take it apart and we'll see what's going on. I imagine it needs to be cleaned and serviced. So you'll get to see how this reel is made and more importantly, the details behind the servicing of this reel. So this reel, like a Penn Jig Master, has a single screw take-apart system. Like any good reel of that age that's been sitting around a long time, it may be difficult to get this off. We'll see. But let's start by trying to do it by hand. And alright, well, this one's turning. Always a good sign. Not turning very well, but sometimes you need a little help there. I'll just use a pair of pliers. This one is not collectible condition. It's lost a lot of its silvering. It's not a pretty example, but it is an example of the Pflueger reel. Alright, there we go. Alright, so this one actually came out. This has got the spring loaded in and out. Now, just a quick little tip here. If you ever are trying to get this reel off, and it's always a lot of things, including trying to keep the spring out, both on that and the Jig Master, use a paper clip. Just run that paper clip over the tip, and then just kind of let it do its job, wedged in behind there. That'll keep it out of that hole, so you should be able to turn the reel off. This is like a Penn reel. It should come backwards, just a little bit of a travel. Let's see if we can get this off. I'm going to hold the handle, hold the case with this hand, and use this button here to kind of be the lever point. And there we go. This one actually came off pretty easily. So, well, there you go. It's quite a mess in here, but we're going to take it apart. We'll show you why it's the mess that it is. We'll clean this reel up, and we'll see if we can make it get it going any better. This is always good to take the side off. This is going to need a cleaning. So what I'm going to do with this, just I'm going to put a little bit of degreaser on there. I just want to get this case off, and then we'll put it in the ultrasonic cleaner because it's that kind of bummed up here. But there's 4 screws here that should correspond on the other side. We'll get rid of that. Let's take the handle off, the star drag off. So the handle looks like a 12mm nut. Keep these in sequence. If you can find a schematic on the internet, that's wonderful. If you can't, take pictures like I'm doing here. I've got the video running. It'll tell me the sequence if I get stuck in any particular path. Okay, so the handle would be next. We have the adjuster. And the adjuster's normally comes off, but because we don't have the AntiReverse working, I'm going to put the handle back on, and I'm going to work the adjuster up that way. Usually at that point you can get it free. There you go. Yeah, so whatever it was that's been holding this down, it's been down a long time. Okay, I'm going to just check it should be these 4 screws here that should hold it to that. So let's go ahead and take those 4 screws out. They're flathead screwdriver screws. As I mentioned, this is a mess. So the reel was working other than the AntiReverse. I don't know the condition of the drags, nor do I know what those drags are inside. It's been a long time since I've had one of these apart. These reels seem to find me. I think this one found me in that the last video I did about flea marketplace finds. I think it was in one of those bundles. I'm taking these screws and laying them side by side here. I want to make sure all 4 of these are equal. If there is a short screw or a particularly long screw, I want to identify where that's coming from. and put it back in the same place when I go to reinstall the reel. Right now it's kind of looking like they're all the same and that they're all equally loaded up here. That grease inside this almost looks like automobile grease. I think we talk a lot about this when we discuss the reel repair stuff. I recommend using fishing reel grease only, and I've been asked from time to time what's an acceptable alternative. I said there really isn't any. The price for the greases are relatively inexpensive. They're available at almost all sporting goods stores as well as online with Amazon and eBay. There's no reason that you should be using any intermediate grease like an automobile grease or the like. Okay, those 4 screws are the same, so I'm going to put them in my parts tray. You're seeing the parts tray in the background. It's a great place to store everything that comes off the reel. You're also seeing that I have a glove on, and that's particularly valuable with this one where it's pretty much a mess. So we should be able to remove the bridge at this point. So the bridge comes out, and it's kind of interesting. Here's your anti-reverse, but the dog isn't moving. So I'm going to guess that that is probably a feature of the general condition with the grease and all, as opposed to any other particular issue. So here's your drag stack. I'm going to have to work on this one, I think. Oh, there you go, we got it off. Now I'm keeping this in sequence, so we had 3 of those. Yeah, so this is the anti-reverse, and as far as I can tell, we're just loaded in those gears. Oh. We're just loaded with all kinds of junk and debris in that, so we'll go ahead and take that off. I think this one comes off with the screw up here. Let's go see if that's the case. There we go. I'll take the gear sleeve off that way. Should be able to pull the gear sleeve off now. We can. And we can just see all of the junk. So the gear sleeve itself, the ratchet for the anti-reverse, is not terribly worn. It's just clogged. You can see here that there's no travel on this one, even though there should be. So that's a matter of it just being loaded with dried grease at the moment. I like to take this screw, as I mentioned, use the parts tray, but in this case, that screw belongs back in here. And I just like to put that right back in there just so I don't lose it. And we'll go prove a theory here. We're just going to go, yeah, we're just dead with dried grease here as the cause of that anti-reverse not working, so we'll be able to work with that. So this is how it came off then. There's a gear sleeve that sits on there. Here's our drag stack. Next was the collars. And I think on this drag stack, these drags look very close to the Penn 155 drags, and we're going to try to see if we can substitute them. This one looks fine. We may not have to substitute. They seem to be in good condition. Yeah, they're in good condition. They don't have to be. That's surprising for this type of a reel. All right, I'm going to take this stuff and we're going to put this into a cleaner, and I think I have a screw or 2 left here to take out to free the backing, and then we'll go report back to you and show you the reassembly and the cleaning of this reel. Okay, well, we're back, and this cleaning project can only be described as a labor of love. It took that long, but again, in the interest of, we're going to call this one a tuition reel. This one's in the interest of showing folks the reel, not necessarily doing this one for speed or profit or anything else. So here's your side plate. It had a lot of shellacking on it. There's some minimum tarnish left, but I was able to get most of it off with good old-fashioned steel wool. some penetrating oil, some metal cleaner, and lots of elbow grease. So we've got it off. This hasn't had lubrication in quite some time, so we're going to make sure that we replace the lubrication. And there's a bushing in here, so we're going to go ahead and make sure that that bushing, which accepts the end of the spool, has got some lubrication. I've lubricated some of this already. I'm going to make sure we have it on the track that the trip mechanism is going to work on, and this little tab here is going to push this back up. You've seen that on bait casting reels. Well, this is on a bigger reel where that happened. Also, we noticed that that spring release was a little tight, and we're going to just put a little bit of oil on that one as well, just to keep that one lubricated. All right, so let's go ahead and work on some of this then. The spool gear has a little ridge on it, not a big deal. And that's going to have the carriers actually in this plastic case. So I'm just going to make sure we get some grease on the spool gear and again on that little slot. When you go to reinstall, it's simply going to ride like this inside the case here. That's the setup for the spool gear and the setup for the metal. So that's all that needs to be done on this side in the plastic case. So there's two fronts to this. Right? There's a side that's going to have the main gear and the assemblies coming into it, and there's a side over here that's going to accept this assembly. That spool gear is going to ride right in the center hole here. So there's two things we want to do when we go to reinstall. First one is this little clip up here that protects the free spool release. It's got to fit in this little slot here, and the spool gear has got to fit in the center. So let's go ahead and see if we can't make that happen. The only one I'm having a little bit of trouble with is this little clip here. And you just need to work it with a little patience. There we go, we should get that in. Okay, that essentially is that front plate. Now all it's waiting for is the 3 bridge screws. And since we have that piece protruding there, the only other thing that holds that side plate on is this spool. Just so I can hold the side plate on. And we'll come back to that. Okay, that's the way this one runs. Let's build that bridge up then. And again, this was a big issue here, was the anti-reverse. Well, it won't be an issue anymore. We've taken care of cleaning all that up. I'm going to pull the screw that is in the center shaft that's going to hold the pinion sleeve on. I'm going to grab my brush to lubricate the main shaft. I'm going to take that sleeve then, and when I get down here, we're going to back this off. And now we have an anti-reverse. So that problem that we have with the anti-reverse is cleared. We can now put the screw back into the main shaft. I'll hold that on. I'll put a drop of oil onto the anti-reverse dog. Remember, I had this in the ultrasonic, so I took most of that stuff off. There you go. Now we have an anti-reverse that's functional. I've cleaned the main gears off. Checked that the teeth are all in good condition. So I'm going to just put a little bit of oil on that. A little bit of grease onto this. Remember, it's been a long time since this reel saw anything. You can see by the shellacking on it. I'm going to place that over the top. Now, as I mentioned when we took these off, these were in pretty good condition. They're still have a level of flexibility and rigidity to them, so these can be reused. I checked off against the pen 155 Beachmaster. They're just a little bit more proud than these. They don't exactly fit in the slot. You could shave them down if you needed to make a drag washer, but these are okay. And these are hard, so I'm not going to put any grease on these. I've got 3 washers here, if you remember how they came out. First one was a round washer. The next one was the keyed or the eared washer. After you put the second fabric washer in, this one sits in the slots. Again, these have all been cleaned up here. So you should have good contact from the drag washer standpoint. You want to make sure that those tabs get in the slot. They won't work right if they don't. There we go. The last of these washers. Then we had the bigger washer up top. And that was your bridge assembly. Just checking my parts tray. On the bridge assembly then we had the trip lever. This trip lever is what's going to kick the free spool release. There's a little tab, you can see it sitting in here. It's going to kick that up when it's engaged for free spool. I'm just matching it up. I may need to go back. Okay. It has to have the orientation where it's going to kick. So this is going to be a right-handed turning wheel. It's going to need the reverse. Now that's why I take pictures, just in case I screw it up. I can come back out here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to turn the camera off right now, take a picture, and go back and reference that. So there's nothing like practicing what you preach. I went back and I checked and made sure that's the proper orientation. And so now we're just going to, I see I'm a little bit dry on this main gear, so I'm just going to put a little bit more on there. And now we can go install this. So I like to hold the spool gear here. That's not going to come into play. We simply install straight in. And there's 2 little slots that these fit in. That's it. So now we go for the 4 bridge screws. Remember, they were all the same size, so it didn't matter what pieces and holes you put them in, you just got to get them in. And I'm seeing, in my parts tray, I'm seeing why I had a problem with that spool gear. I put the handle cap on the spool gear there, so we're all subject to those mistakes. We're trying to get this locked and loaded here. There we go. Got the first one. And I go north, south, east, west on these. You'll notice I don't have my glove on anymore. That was when I went to go run the camera for the black play to see which side that tab went on. Right, this is the handle cap nut, which is why it wasn't fitting properly there. Take that off. I'm just going to use the spool to hold that in now. That says we have this, and we have this one. I think somebody put that on. I can't believe that that belongs there like that. Probably belongs on the handle. It does belong on the handle. There you go. So when you're not playing with reels that you know too much about, it's easy to mess up. That's why I always encourage folks to take the pictures. All right, we're coming to the finale here. We're actually going to hope to see that there's an improvement in this. I know one thing, we have an anti-reverse, which is kind of what we started with, the problem being. All right, so we got that. I'm just going to get a little bit on the tail here. Put that in. Grab the greased brush, put a bit on that. I'm going to bring this over, and this is the quarter turn now, so look for the hole in the side plate. Bring it back under that. Line up your studs. And you should be able to make the quarter turn just like I did. Not quite in. Now we are. You should see the I don't know if you can see it on the camera. You should see the screw right here. That'll tell you that you're fully in, and then you can bring it in to tighten the case nut up. Still off a little. Okay, moments away then. Just the handle. Now we got the right washer and the right cap. Get our handle, the wrench we've been using for our handle. Here we go. There you go. Nice and working. Make sure that we have the free spool release, which we do. Make sure it pops up, which it does. Make sure we have the drags nice and tight. So that's it then. There's your Pflueger Capital on how to rebuild that reel. Hopefully when you take yours off, you won't come anywhere near the issues that we've had. And hopefully you've learned something about an alternate design in terms of the technology behind the reel. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, please like it and subscribe. Please stay tuned for more. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.